Someone quit their job by accident, and they had absolutely no idea.
Okay, so technically, I resigned on her behalf, and honestly, it was an honest mistake.
I found out I'd quit while eating a Twix at my own desk. Proper mortifying.
Inspired by the kind of story you'd find on Reddit. Imagine arriving at work on a perfectly normal Tuesday morning, making yourself a coffee, sitting down at your desk, and then your manager walks over and says, "So, I've accepted your resignation. When exactly is your last day?"
Wait, what? She hadn't resigned. She hadn't resigned at all.
And the craziest part, it was 100% my fault. Like genuinely, completely, no question about it, my fault.
Welcome to English Through Stories. I'm Oliver, and today's episode is called "I Sent My Boss the Wrong Email and Quit by Accident." Joining me, as always, are Jake and Sophie, and today, unusually, Jake is the villain of the story.
I prefer the catalyst for growth, but yeah, okay, villain, sure.
He's the villain, full stop. No redemption arc. Right, let's get into it because I have been waiting to tell this story for absolutely ages.
So let's set the scene. Our story takes place in a medium-sized marketing agency in Leeds. Open-plan office, you know the sort, rows of desks, the faint smell of instant coffee, a motivational poster that says synergy that nobody has ever looked at twice. Sophie has been working there for about 2 years as a campaign coordinator, which means she organizes projects, liaises with clients, and crucially, writes a lot of emails.
I live in my inbox, basically. If I'm not on a conference call, I'm sending follow-up emails about the conference call. It's the job, isn't it?
And this is honestly the key detail. Sophie is like really good at her job. Like her email game is immaculate. Professional sign-offs, proper formatting, she CCs exactly the right people. I have never once in my life CC'd the right people.
Now Jake sits 2 desks away from Sophie. He is the kind of colleague who has 17 browser tabs open at all times and once replied, all to company-wide email with the words, "Sounds good, boss," not knowing the original email was from HR about a fire drill. Jake also, on this particular Friday afternoon, needed a favor.
Okay, so here's the thing. I had been working on this massive pitch for a new client. Huge deal. And my line manager, right, he kept asking me for a progress report. That's basically just an update. You tell your manager where a project is at, what's been done, what's still outstanding. And I had been absolutely terrible at sending these.
He had sent 0 progress reports in 3 weeks. 0.
Which is okay, that's not great. But I was busy, and my manager was starting to get a bit, intense about it. So I drafted this really long, really detailed email explaining everything. And I was, so proud of it. It was genuinely the best professional email I have ever written.
Now here is where the trouble begins. Jake, rather than simply sending his email, decided, for reasons that remain somewhat mysterious even to him, to ask Sophie to proofread it first.
She's good at emails. I just wanted a second pair of eyes. Is that so wrong?
It would have been dead fine if you just, walked over and asked me. But no, what did you do instead?
I forwarded it to you.
He forwarded it to me, except, and here's the bit that still makes me want to lie down on the floor, he didn't forward it. He thought he was forwarding it. He was actually replying to the original email chain, which included my manager, Diane.
Let us pause here for a moment to appreciate the full geometry of this disaster. Jake's progress report email was written from his own perspective, first person, talking about his own workload, his own deadlines, his own goals. But because he hit reply instead of forward and typed Sophie's name in the body of the email rather than the address bar, the entire thing went to Diane, Sophie's manager, and it looked, from Diane's perspective, exactly as if Sophie had written it.
And the email, oh, it gets worse, the email Jake had written ended with, "I think it's time to be honest. I'm not sure this role is the right fit for me anymore. I've been considering my options." He wrote that as his personal reflection, and Diane read it as me, Sophie, resigning.
I mean, in my defense, I was being really vulnerable and honest in that email. I genuinely do find it hard to write progress reports. I was expressing how I felt about my workload. I didn't know it was going to become a formal resignation.
Jake, mate, there is no defense. There is nought you can say.
So Monday morning, Sophie arrives at work, completely unaware of any of this. Jake, meanwhile, has spent the weekend blissfully not checking his sent folder. Diane, however, has been busy. She'd spent Friday afternoon sending internal memos. That's official written messages that go around an organization. She'd sent internal memos to the HR department about Sophie's impending departure. She'd even started drafting a job listing.
My job was being advertised on LinkedIn while I was sat at my desk eating a Twix.
Okay, when you say it like that, it sounds really bad.
It was really bad, Jake.
Diane approached Sophie at approximately 9:15 that Monday morning. She sat down across from Sophie's desk, folded her hands, and said with genuine warmth, apparently, "I just want to say I completely respect your decision, and I'd love to discuss your handover before your last day. We'll need to make sure the transition is smooth." A handover, for our listeners, is when someone leaving a job passes all their responsibilities and knowledge to the person replacing them. It's a crucial part of leaving any role professionally.
And I just sat there, absolutely baffled. Like, what handover, what last day, what decision? I thought maybe she'd got me confused with someone else. I said, "Sorry, Diane, I'm not quite sure what you mean." And she goes, "Well, your email on Friday." And she shows me on her phone, and I read it, and I went completely cold.
She texted me immediately. The text just said in all caps, "Jake, what did you do?"
Which is, I think, the most restrained thing I have ever done in my life.
Now Jake had, of course, by this point, realized his error. He'd come in that morning, opened his sent folder, and had what he described to me as a full spiritual crisis at 8:45 a.m.
I saw it in the sent folder and I stood very still for a very long time, like my brain was doing a loading screen. And then Sophie's text came in and I thought, okay, I have to go and fix this immediately. So I walked over and Sophie is sitting there with Diane and I just said, "Diane, I am so sorry, that email was from me. I sent it by mistake." And Diane looked at me. And then she looked at Sophie. And then she said, "Could you both come to a meeting room, please?"
The meeting room, the one with the glass walls, that everyone in the office can see into. Every single one of our colleagues watched the three of us walk in there, and they all thought we were getting sacked.
The energy in that office, honestly, it was like a nature documentary. Everyone was very still and very alert.
In the meeting room, Jake explained everything. To Diane's considerable credit, she was, once she understood the situation, remarkably composed about it. She asked Jake to walk her through the series of events, which meant Jake had to explain, out loud, in front of Sophie, exactly how he had managed to accidentally resign on her behalf.
And this is the bit where I found out he'd also never sent a progress report. Not one. In 3 weeks. Which, by the way, is a key performance indicator issue. A key performance indicator, or KPI, is a specific measure your employer uses to track how well you're doing your job. And Jake had basically zero evidence he'd been hitting any of his.
That did come up, yeah. That was sort of an unexpected bonus conversation within the main disaster conversation.
Diane made him send the progress report on the spot, while we were all sitting there.
It was not my finest hour, but I did send it. And honestly, it was a good email if we take the resignation line out.
Diane confirmed that Sophie had not in fact handed in her notice, which, for listeners, means formally told your employer you're leaving, usually in writing. She rescinded the job listing. That means she withdrew it, cancelled it, and sent an apology to HR for the confusion. Jake was given what Diane called a very direct conversation about communication in the workplace and about the importance of not accidentally terminating his colleague's employment.
She also suggested I attend a workshop on professional email etiquette, which I felt was maybe slightly unnecessary, but also completely fair.
It was completely fair. You needed it. And honestly, Diane was proper decent about the whole thing. She could have made it so much worse. But she did pull me aside afterwards and say, "And I will never forget this, Sophie, if you ever do want to explore other opportunities, my door is always open." Which I think means she wasn't entirely surprised that I might someday want to leave.
Now I want to pause here and teach you a phrase Sophie just used beautifully in context. Explore other opportunities. This is classic professional English. It's what people say instead of look for a new job. It sounds polished, it keeps everything friendly, and it's used all the time in performance reviews, in resignation letters, in LinkedIn posts. If someone says they're exploring other opportunities, it almost always means they're job hunting.
I have used that phrase 4 times in job interviews when they ask why I left my last role. It works every time.
Right, so the fallout. Because Diane sorted it, but the office did not forget. For about 3 weeks after this, every time I sent an email, at least one person would come by my desk and go, "Just double-checking you're not actually leaving, are you?" It became this whole thing.
Someone made a mug, like a physical mug with "not resigning" printed on it, and left it on Sophie's desk. I think it was Gary from accounts.
I still have that mug. It's a dead good mug, actually.
And Jake, did this experience change you? Did you become a more careful, more considered professional communicator as a result of this incident?
I mean, yes, mostly. I did attend the email workshop, and I did start sending progress reports regularly. But I will say, and Sophie knows this, there was one time about a month later where I accidentally put her in the CC instead of the BCC on a client email, and she found out I'd described our client as a little bit intense in the thread above.
I had to do a lot of damage control on that one. Damage control, right, that's when something's gone wrong and you're working really fast to fix it or limit how bad it gets. I spent an hour on the phone reassuring that client. An hour, Jake.
And I appreciate that. I do, genuinely.
And there we have it, the beautiful, chaotic, entirely preventable workplace disaster that taught us all. Always check the recipient field before hitting send. Always. Let's quickly recap the vocabulary we picked up in today's story, because there were some genuinely brilliant workplace English phrases in there: progress report, handover, key performance indicator, handed in her notice, explore other opportunities, CC, BCC, damage control, and internal memo. All of these come up constantly in real working environments, and you've now heard every single one used in context, in a crisis, no less, which is the best way to remember anything.
If you want to learn professional English, honestly, just follow Jake around for a week. You'll see everything that can go wrong, and you'll know exactly what not to do.
You know what? I think that's actually a really good teaching method. I should pitch that to Oliver. Jake's Workplace Disasters, a masterclass. I'd watch that.
We'll workshop it. Thank you both. And thank you, as ever, to everyone watching. If you enjoyed today's story, subscribe to English Through Stories. Leave us a comment telling us your own workplace email disaster. We know you have one, and we will see you in the next episode.
Did this make you laugh? Drop us a like.
Hit follow and never miss a story.
Subscribe to English Through Stories. Find us on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. See you on the next episode.